Hey boys and girls, good morning. How are you today? I just want to take a moment and I really want to drive this whole point home on slander and gossip. I want to take a minute to talk about YouTube scholars. And what I mean by that is there's so much information that is available to people now. We live in a time where if you have a question, Google it, Google this, Google that, Google this, Google that. And, for the most part, information that we acquire is backed up with some sort of proof or evidence or something like that. If it's not, then it's called a theory. It's not called an actual fact. And I think that this is where we are really coming into some issues. I'm not even going to worry about talking about the secular culture. I'm going to focus just on believers today, okay? Because the reality is I could care less what the secular culture does. All I care about is what is the will of God and implementing that into my life. Okay. So I really don't care what evil does. I don't care what the devil's doing because I'm too busy focusing and concentrating on what God is doing. Okay. You see all those little things going around. That's my beautiful piece that my friend Carrie sent to me. Isn't that beautiful? And it catches the light in my car and it shines my car up. Thank you, Carrie. I love you. Okay, so anyways, so what we have is a situation where I'm seeing this more and more. Listen, anybody can make a vlog. Anybody can make a video about anything. And introduce you to all of these ideas and concepts. But what's happening is we're just accepting those as fact without looking to see if there's proof of what's being said. Okay, so basically I'm having a conversation with somebody and I have this like lightning bolt coming through my face. Oh well, maybe it'll edit out. I don't know. So anyways, I'm having this conversation with this lady and she's talking about how MLK did this, and I'm not even going to repeat what she said because there's no proof of the allegation. Okay, so she's saying MLK did this and MLK did that, and I'm like, well, I'm sure that you have plenty of proof to back up the allegations you're making, right? And I was met with the comment, well, all you have to do is Google it. Whoa. Let's just back up because I'm ready to just smack the next person who says that. Because when you're presenting something that you think is fact and you're telling somebody, well, just go look it up. The flat earthers do this all the time. Well, just go look it up. Why are you so lazy? Go look it up. No. The burden of proof is on you. You're trying to introduce something as fact. Cite your sources. It's not my job to do your homework. And that's why I've only looked into the flat earth enough to know that it's a bunch of garbage. Because there is no proof for anything. So it's just a theory. Okay? Just like the spherical earth is just a theory. It's obviously the more accepted theory, but it's just a theory. There's no proof one way or the other. I can't fly into outer space and see what's going on up above the earth. I can't do that personally. I know there's a lot of astronauts who have, though. Okay, so we have to kind of, which one has more information, So I'm not even going to get off into that one. So anyways, I said, well, no, the burden of proof is on you. If you want to introduce something as fact to me, then cite your sources and I'll go from there. So she sends me this article And I was like, okay, that's a lot of reading to do, so give me a few and I'll get back to you, but I will give you the benefit of the doubt and read the article. I'm sure it's filled with legal evidence. And I knew it wasn't going to be, because it was some weird off-the-wall blog. So anyway, I actually read it, and there it was. I mean, it only mentioned MLK a few times, but the things that it did mention was hearsay. Basically, it has been said, or Martin Luther King was to have been known, or the FBI was looking into charges of this or that. But there's no legal evidence against him. Okay. Here's the problem with that. And this is what believers don't seem to want to get. Listen, from the minute we are a baby sitting in the grocery cart, okay? When we go into the grocery store, we are inundated with gossip magazines at the checkout. From the time we are able to address our surroundings around us, we are introduced to the concept that gossip is natural, it is normal, it is part of life, and it's how we need to be. Okay, but that is one of the things that Yahweh hates the most. He hates gossip. He hates slander. He hates bearing false witness against your neighbor. He hates this stuff. He calls it an abomination. Okay? So from a very early age, we're taught that this is right, and later on, we find out it is wrong. Okay? And some of us even find out if it's wrong, and we still continue on that behavior for a while until Yahweh really starts to wake us up, like Yahweh has done with me, and says, hey, you have bigger fish to fry, and you need to stop worrying about this stuff. Okay? And eventually, I pray and I hope that we all get here as a community, because it's a huge deal to Yahweh if we're going around spreading tales about people. And it doesn't matter if it's a believer or a non-believer. There are commandments in the Torah that protect the stranger and the native born. Okay? So basically, I want to talk about this concept of slandering, because it is so prevalent. And it's not even that it's prevalent, it's that when it gets called out for what it is, people get so angry that you are calling them out on their sin. Here's the deal, you guys. If we're calling people out on sin, we need to be super careful that we're not sinning in the process. Okay? When you are spreading unfounded, undocumented, unproved stories and theories about people, you are sinning. There's no proof to the allegations that you're spreading. Now, it's one thing to talk in your communities about, hey guys, what do you think about this? Can we kind of, what do you think, what's going on here? Blah, 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 blah. Social media is a huge platform. It allows us to send not just to one person, but millions of people. I'm sure that there are people who have read posts of mine that I will never meet in this lifetime. I'm sure of it. Okay, so when we have to start to grasp this, you guys. We are sinning on such a huge level. How can we combat sin when we're sinning? Is what I'm trying to get at. Now, obviously, we want to talk about things that are going on in the world that are provable, that we can see. People who are being human trafficked, abortion, this, that, the other. There are so many battles that need to be waged on a righteous front that we know are happening, that we know we can make a difference in. Why do we waste time sinning and spreading stories about people that are dead, for one thing, who cannot defend themselves? I mean, that's just a whole new level of unrighteous. These people are not here to call account for what you're accusing them of. And if you don't see a problem with that, then you're wrong. I'm sorry. You are wrong. They have to be able to stand up for themselves, and what you're doing is you are dragging their legacy through the mud, because how many people just like you are going to buy the story hook, line, and sinker, because they have this mentality, well, if I was lied to about this, then maybe I was lied to about everything. There are certain evil deeds in this world, you guys, that we cannot control. We cannot do that, and our best defense against them is prayer. Okay? And you know, here's the deal. We have to get to a place where we look at a story objectively, and if we do not see the legal proof of something, then if we share that story, we are slandering. Period. I want to share some scriptures with you. Okay? I'm going to commentary along the way, but I'm going to share some scriptures with you today. First and foremost is, you shall not bear false witness. That means if it has not been proven, you don't repeat it. Okay? Because what we are doing is we are condemning people in the court of public opinion, and not in fact. We are not operating in truth at that point. Okay? He who conceals hatred has lying lips, and he who spreads slander is a fool. Proverbs is filled with scriptures about slanders. I just picked the one because there's just layers of them in Proverbs. Not to mention that gossip and a lying tongue are two of the 7 deadly sins. They're abomination to God. Okay? So when you're calling people out on their evil deeds, you might want to take into consideration that breaking any Torah commandment is considered evil to Yahweh. All right. But I tell you that every careless word that people speak, they shall give an account for in the day of judgment. That's Matthew 12:36. Those are red letter words, folks. So every time you sit here and you carelessly slander somebody, you're going to be held accountable for those words. Who did you hurt with those words is what you're going to stand accountable for. Being filled. This one is big. Okay, I want you to really listen to this one because I'm going to pick this one apart. Being filled with all unrighteousness, wickedness, greed, evil, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice. They are gossips, slanderers, and haters of God, insolent, arrogant, boastful, and inventors of doing evil, disobedient to parents, without understanding, untrustworthy, unloving, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they who commit such things are worthy of death, not only do it, but they applaud others who do the same. Notice something. These are believers. He says that these people know the judgment of God. These are believers, you guys. These are believers that he's talking about. So which one of these do you fall under? I could pick every single one of these words apart in this. And we could be here for an hour. Seriously. Unrighteousness, wickedness. What is wickedness? What is evil? Wickedness and evil in the eyes of Yahweh is breaking any of his commandments. He says right here that you're a believer, but you're a gossip. And you're a slanderer. And that equates to being a hater of God. So how does the blessing and the curse come forth out of the same mouth? You need to audit your faith. You need to audit your mouth. You need to audit your thoughts, because you're in sin and you're taking other people with you. Other people who are not thinking about things appropriately, who are not implementing the entire word of God. You read something that supports your case and that's what you run with. Okay? And we're going to talk about what's driving you. Okay? So these are believers. that are doing this sort of stuff. Dangerous. Paul goes on to say, hold on one second. I think I lost a page. Hold on. Okay. Let all bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, and slander be put away from you along with malice. And that's Ephesians 4:31. If we spent half the energy praying that we do exposing darkness, maybe we could be more effective. By breaking commandments ourselves, we are contributing to evil, feeding the energy and making it stronger. Do you understand that? You're not helping. You're not helping. Prayer is our biggest weapons against these evil forces that are out there. And listen, I am in no way saying that a lot of these politicians, they have some very evil, things that I can't even wrap my head around. They've been accused of. And I don't doubt it for a minute, but we have no business repeating and slandering these people without the proper proof. And you have to wrap your head around the fact that we may die and never ever have found the truth on these people. Why? Because they're operating in darkness. Because they have faith in their king. And maybe if we had faith in ours, we would be more effective for his kingdom. Maybe if we did what our king was telling us to do, we would be more effective in the kingdom. You know, this goes beyond just keeping the Sabbath and the feast days, you guys. This is a complete and total brain cleansing. You have to get all that old crap out of your head. You have to leave it behind. You cannot have a transformation in your life unless you first transform the way that you think. Okay? Next verse is, you shall not hate your fellow countryman in your heart. You may reprove your neighbor. That means you go to them directly and you rebuke them. But you shall not incur sin because of him. Okay, so in the process of correcting your neighbor, if you're out there spreading lies or unfounded truths about them, then you're in sin. And it says right here, you shall not sin against him. You shall not incur sin while doing your rebuking. You shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the sons of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. I am Yahweh. Now, some will say they aren't my neighbor, or we are called to expose darkness. To that I say, you shall not wrong the stranger with speech or oppress him. For you were strangers in Egypt. Exodus 22:20. And you shall show love for the alien, for you were aliens in Egypt. That's Deuteronomy 10:19. Okay? As far as exposing darkness, they are most likely using Ephesians 5. And it says, have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but instead expose them. Okay, we'll get into that. We're going to take that apart. It is disgraceful to even speak of the things being done by them in the dark. But all things become visible when they are exposed by light. For everything that becomes visible is light for this reason. It says, awake, sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. They don't read this part. Therefore, be careful how you walk, not as unwise men, but as wise, making the most of your time because the days are evil. So don't be foolish, but understand what the will of Yeshua is. And that's Ephesians 5:11 through 17. That's the entire verse. So let's talk about this a little bit. It says, do not have anything to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but instead expose them. Okay, so does this mean that we get on Facebook and we start spreading stories about people that we think we know what they're doing? Okay, is that what that means? That's exposing people. So when we share stories about Joel Osteen all over the internet, or when we share stories about MLK all over the internet, and we basically they're hit pieces as far as I'm concerned. They're all hit pieces. They're designed to change and shape the way that you look at somebody else. That's what gossip does. It changes whether it's true or not. Whether it's found out to be completely bullcrap and people go about their days, that's always in the back of their head. And they always think about that person attached to that idea. It changes how you think about somebody. Okay? So that's exposing them? Or is it just that we are called to not have anything to do with wickedness? So if somebody says to you, hey, let's go over and get our palms read, and you say, no, I'm not going to do that because Yahweh's word says this about sorcery. That's exposing that work of evil to somebody else. Okay, that is not you having an opinion on what somebody else is doing in the basements in some other country. Okay, that is you using the word of God to say, no, that's evil. Now I'm going to shine the light of the word of God on what you're doing, and I'm going to tell you that's evil. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about make a hit piece on somebody and put it up on YouTube so that 1 million other people can watch that. That's not founded, that's not true, and that's a slander hit piece. Okay? Let's face it. If you didn't know what you knew about, say, Hillary Clinton from the media, would you have anything to say about her? No, you wouldn't, because you don't know her. Okay? And I'm telling you the God's honest truth. My opinion about Hillary Clinton has been made for me. Now, obviously, we can look at somebody like Hillary Clinton and I can say, I don't like her personality. I don't like the way she speaks. She seems very arrogant and she seems very condescending. She doesn't seem like a likable person. Okay? I could be wrong, but that's just what I'm reading from her own personality. Everything else has been made up for me by the media. And it's like that with every person that you know in the public eye. Everything that you think you know about them has been fed to you through an information source. And when we make hit pieces on people based on information that somebody else fed us, how can we be sure that what we're saying is true? Because you don't know them. How can you be sure that what you're saying is true? That's what I'm getting at. So anyways, it says here, it says, be careful how you walk. Expose the evil around you and make sure that you're not partaking in any of that. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about being awake and being vigilant and being sober and knowing that there's certain things that are in Yahweh's word that you're not supposed to be attaching yourself to. Now, whether it be drunkenness, lewdness, gossip, slander, whatever the case may be, God has a certain will for our life. We find that out by reading the Torah. And it says right here, don't be foolish. Understand what the will of Yeshua is for your life. How do you understand what the will of Yeshua is for your life? Well, we can read his words. We can read his words that always point us back to Torah. We can learn the commandments of God. Okay? If you don't understand the commandments of God, if you haven't studied enough on the commandments of God, I really urge you to go to mtoi.org or go to MTOI on YouTube and watch Rabbi Berkson's teaching on the 613 commandments. Please, you will be so blessed. And it's like 20 parts, I know, but just take one a day. and go through the commandments of God and learn what Yeshua's will is for your life. We don't have to wonder and guess. And it's not our job to save the world, you guys. It's our job to be a light. And if we're constantly gossiping or slandering or cursing somebody, we are not being a light to anybody. Not one person. So be careful how you're walking. You know, I could go through and do a word search on slander, gossip, and bearing false witness. I could absolutely do that. But you know what, you guys? You guys aren't stupid. You guys aren't stupid. And what you're doing is you're rationalizing your behavior. And worse, you're using the word of God. You're not even using it. You're twisting the word of God to rationalize what you want to do. It's not about you. It's not. And we use social media platforms every day to curse people, to murder their character, to condemn them in the court of public opinion. We do it every single day. And it is so common to us that we don't even possibly consider the fact that we're doing something wrong. And you guys, we are doing something wrong. Okay? If you can't find a legal source to prove what is going on, then my best advice to you, sit on it until you do. Okay? We are running the risk of being considered a hater of God when we do these things. We are running a risk of standing accountable when we do these things. You know, there's certain things in this world that I'm just like, okay, so let's just take the Michael Jackson thing, for instance. Everything that happened with Michael Jackson. I don't waste my time worrying about it because I know that when I meet my Creator, every question, every unanswered question that came about in my life will be answered. Okay? So I'm not going to risk my status in the kingdom to sit here and accuse or to insinuate or anything like that about Michael Jackson. I'm just not going to do it because it's not something that was proven before his death. He's not here to defend himself, and it's the same thing with MLK. The things that they were trying to investigate him for were never proven. They were never proven. And now that's something we have to deal with. It was never proven, so therefore it's not a fact. So stop spreading it like it is, because you're in sin. I love you. Have a great day.